Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Christian Brindle. Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business to seven figures. I'm joined with a fantastic guest, somebody that I've gotten to know a little bit over the last couple of years, got to spend some time with him in person last year. I have Mr. Sean Schickel of Patriot Family Financial. Sean is a super talented guy, super gifted. He's built a really great business. Sean is a Integrity Partner Office, as are we. And, he's part of the Integrity family. And anytime we can kind of collaborate and do some stuff with our friends inside of the Integrity organization, we always want to do that. First off, Sean, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's been a good day, and I'm glad to be here and answer any questions you might have, and hopefully help some agents out there and whatever we can do. So I appreciate you having me on.
100%. Funny thing, when I think about you, Sean, before we kind of jump into your intro a little bit about, how you got into the industry and everything like that, the last year, tell me if this is accurate, the last year or so, you have kind of started to come out and, put yourself out there a little bit in terms of like your group and,
Yeah,
trainings and things like that. Prior to that, you were kind of, doing your own thing and, like, you very much kept to yourself, but I think people that were in the know knew what a smart and talented individual you were, and all of
yeah,
the abilities you have. Like I feel like I would talk to people about you and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know Sean." And I'm like, "Well, that Sean kind of keeps to himself. That's probably why, he's not
yeah.
at that point in
All
time."
true, all true. You know, for a while, I just kind of hit under the radar. Um, the nice way to say it is I really didn't want to get to know anybody. You know, I know that there's things when you develop relationships with people, and there's some golden nuggets you can take away when you're talking with people. And there were people I would talk to in chats. You were one of those people who would
Yep.
help me out from time to time. And there's some of the names out there that people know. I would definitely get assistance if I needed, just on chat groups or whatever, or instant messenger or whatever. But I never really have really met hardly any. You and I have met, but I can't really throw any other names out there that I've actually personally met.
Yeah.
I don't go to a lot of events or whatever, and that doesn't. And I'm not advocating that people don't. It's just me.
Yeah.
I just had no desire to be well known in the industry, and there was a reason for that. And I'll tell you what the reason was. Early on, I learned from some successful people. And the phrase was, if I had a quarter for every person that asked me to pick my brain, for an agent to pick my brain for this or for that, I'd be a millionaire. And I started
Hmm.
thinking about that early on. Do I really want to let other agents know what I'm doing or not doing? And the truth is, since I have let people know a little bit about what we do or don't do, I get it all the time. Sure, you get it way more than I do because, you're out there and people know who you are. Time is money when you're selling every day and you're trying to build your business. And
Yep.
there's agents that want free advice and you want to help, but you also have to balance that with your family and maybe just not doing anything and, chilling out and, whatever with your brain, so that's why I didn't put myself out there. It wasn't
Yeah.
that I hate people or whatever. It was, I have to build a business and
Absolutely.
I can't be, in my mind, bogged down by everybody else. And I want to help people. I think we all want to help people, but maybe hopefully most of us do.
Yeah.
But that's where I was really coming from. It was just, you know, I initially kind of was doing that, and I was getting lots of questions. I'm like, yeah, I got to do the Heisman here and
Yeah.
move on and do my own thing and just be quiet and just do my own thing. There are lots of people that do that. There's lots of very wealthy agents in the United States that nobody knows.
Absolutely.
I know a handful that do extremely well. I mean, multimillionaires that make lots of money. They don't have Facebook accounts or whatever. I mean, they're out there. Um,
Yeah.
you know, um, there are others that do the opposite, right? But so for me, it was just focus on my business and do what I do well and live my life. And eventually we started moving in a different direction. More recently, as you said, but I still truly, honestly, go back and forth that whole thing because when you start putting yourself out there and you're giving away information that does help people, then you start getting the questions, and pretty soon you're spending a couple hours a day answering questions. instead of building your own business. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's a balance depending on what you're doing or not doing, you know,
Yeah.
with that knowledge. So, and that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a ton of sense, and I think you hit it right on the head. My mind was going in the exact same direction I think yours was, that like some of the most successful people I've ever met in this industry, you know, they're in the shadows for the most part, especially online, like you're not gonna know who they are, they keep to themselves and they crush, they crush and they do
Yeah.
incredibly well. Um,
I know
and
a couple, they do like 1,500 policies a year, T65s. No one knows who they are. They're multimillionaires. I mean, they live a crazy life in terms of, you know, they work all the time and no one knows who they are.
Yep.
And they're not doing all the stuff that everybody else is doing. They're doing their own thing and they're very successful at what they do.
Yeah.
They're known to the carriers, but they could be at a table with 20 other agents and nobody has any idea who they are and what they're doing. I mean, it is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And that's what they like, you know. And so I kind of, when I learned that early on from some key people that I work with, I decided to go that route, and stick to it as much as I can and kind of just stay out of the radar. When you get on the radar, sometimes it's a bad thing. Most of the time, I think it's a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. People occupy your time.
They
And
do.
I just
Yeah.
felt like, you know, for me, I needed my time focused on helping customers, and that was it. The things that I do and can do and capable of doing, I felt like that was the best way for me to get to where my goal was, as opposed to, you know, participating in this or talking in this group or that group. And some of the, maybe another way of putting the cattiness that can exist in in the insurance industry. I just don't deal with it. I still don't do it. But, you know, it is kind of funny sometimes, but, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, but yeah, that's where I came from.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where sometimes, I think the loudest people on Facebook or social media in general are one of two people. One, someone that's trying to sell something, or
Yeah.
two, agents that don't write much. It's
Sure.
usually one of those two. And I think a lot of the people that are mega producers, even if they're either not involved at all, they don't even have an account, like you said.
Yeah.
Maybe they have an account, but like they're quiet. They don't post much, they don't comment much, but they watch from the shadows, but for the most part they're working, they're building their business, they're focused on their own stuff. And I for one, think I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's
Yeah. You
probably
know,
it's probably what I recommend probably to a lot of agents actually.
so the opposite of this is why did I start doing it? And you already hit on at least one of those reasons, and that is the agents that don't write,
Hmm.
that give out all this advice to how to be successful in this business. You know, I had a couple of those agents, and they're out there every day, and God bless them. They're not bad people,
No.
but they tell everybody how to build an agency and how to make $1 million. But I'm telling you, they don't sell 5 policies a year. And
Right.
and they will tell you how to sell 5 a day. It is, and give you all this advice and tag you. And it's like, that's why they're doing all that, because they have time.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not diming anybody out. I'm not, you know, I don't care about the drama, but, you know, listen, you know, get to work, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, the people that are working, they don't have a lot of time to do, you know, to be on, you know, to do the things that some of these people are doing. And you're right. I mean, those people exist. And that was one of the reasons that I started to put myself out there. I just kept reading these. I would definitely read, because I think, like your group, for example, I love your group. You know, I certainly belong to all of them that everybody knows of. I love your group, but I do because I think you can put out some fantastic content. It's stuff that
Thank
a
you.
new agent can learn from and become a pretty darn good agent pretty quick if they are listening and learning and reading the content and participating and asking questions. But that doesn't mean it should dominate your life. You get to work too. You
Yes.
know, I mean, take it in, take the knowledge, and start doing your job. It's the ones that are just constantly, which, you know, the opposite of that is if you're running a group, you want those people too, because they add to the content. So, you know, it's
Yes.
this weird dynamic. But, you know, so that was one of the reasons I started doing it. The other one is there's a lot of dishonest information out there. It's going to be
Yep.
blunt. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I see some very well-known people in our industry that are, I'm not calling them bad people, but there's just some dishonest information out there. And I just had enough. And I said, I got to do something here. And that's where I was with it. And people will say one thing in one side of their mouth and do the other. And so I thought, I want to just tell people what we're doing and help them as much as they can without sacrificing my time as much as I possibly could. And so far I've been able to do that, but I'm not like aggressive. I don't really put out a lot of content and stuff like that. I just try to help people when I can and put out some content. And we may do more. Kind of, again, go back and forth on that dynamic of what I want to do or not want to do with, these kind of groups or whatever. But because I'm very focused, bluntly, on building my business. So when I first started my personal group, I came out on fire and I was stuff like every day. I had all this stuff and I'm like, you know what? I want to build my business, more than I want to build this group, which I know you can use to build your business, obviously. But, so I go back and forth on that all the time. Yeah, personally.
I think the word you used is, a little bit ago was balance. I think that's the best word for it because, like I've seen people that have built a group and I've experienced it as well to where like, if you let them, the people in the group will drive you nuts. Like like for me to this day, I get probably 20 or 30 direct messages a day from agents just about this and that and this and that.
Right.
And the way that I deal with it is I don't respond to everybody. You know what I mean? Like I had a conversation with a guy pretty recently, who's built a little bit of a group and he's like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, well, it's because you feel like you're indebted to these people or something. Like, I'm like, just because they're in your group doesn't mean that you're their bitch. That like for excuse the French.
Another better way to put it.
But like, you don't. I told him what I told him is I was like, you don't have to respond to every message. Like, but when you feel something of value that you feel like you want to put out there, you can put it out there and that kind of thing. And you can participate at your own pace and your own leisure in the group. And that's what I've had to learn, because like in the early years of my group, I felt like I had to respond to every comment, respond to every message, and it took its toll on me for sure. And you need that balance. I think that's the best word for it.
And not only that, but balance about what you're going to give away or not going to give away. I mean, I'll help people, but I'm not going to give it away. I mean,
right. Nor should you.
I get people ask me, well, can you give me the ad? Can you give me the landing page? Can you give me that? Like, dude, no. I'll just give you $1 million. I mean, like there's a limit, you can ask. I have no problem with the hustle, but be prepared for no or no answer. You're right. I mean, so,
let's kind of go back. I want to make sure that we kind of go back and talk about kind of your introduction to the industry, right? Because I bet a lot of people that end up watching this, they might not be familiar with you, with you and with your agency, and your agency's doing big time things, of course. How did Sean get into insurance? What's the background?
Zero plan to get involved in insurance. So I was in the Marine Corps. I enlisted like right at the end of high school. And my whole family, long time military family with the Marine Corps. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. 4 of us, enlisted right out of high school in the Marine Corps. Only one of us was smart enough, as he says, to go into college. And he did graduate and has a master's degree, the whole bit. But, we all would just go in the Marine Corps. My mom was very straightforward about things. You'd either go in the Marine Corps or you go to college. And that's how it was laid out. And so 4 of us went in the Marine Corps. And I couldn't tell you why I was in the Marine Corps. It just is what it is. And that's how things worked. And so, I went into the Marine Corps. For me though, I was the youngest of my brothers. And so, I think my oldest brother went in when I was like 3rd or 4th grade. The only way I can explain it, because it's a big decision, I think, for a lot of people, obviously. For me, it was not a decision. It was my dream. When most kids grow up, they want to be a doctor or an athlete, a basketball player, a football player, or whatever, or a lawyer. I don't know. I didn't want to do anything other than be a United States Marine. And so I had no desire to do anything else. I was pretty good at some sports or whatever. Didn't matter to me. I wanted one thing and one thing only, and that was to be a United States Marine. So for me to live my dream, and I did for 20 some years, I loved it. When I was in boot camp right out of high school, all these guys were crying and stuff. Literally the first day, I was a big smile on my face. I was home. I loved it the minute I was there. I mean, everything about it I enjoyed, for the most part. So, that's what I did. And so I did different jobs within the military and all that. But long story short, I retired in 2015. And, I wasn't 18 anymore, and you're running around with these 18-year-olds and your body it changes and you can't hang with these young kids anymore. So, things had to change and, had to move on and transition out. And as so many do in the military, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I mean, I had to grow up basically, right? For me, so I lived my dream. What do I want to do now? And that was a big change. And so, I had no idea, truly no idea. I was looking at it I took all these tests and everything else, and I knew I could probably sell to some degree, but I mean, I wasn't doing that in the Marine Corps. I mean, carrying a rifle. I was an infantry officer. I don't know if most people know what that is, but when you think Marine, kicking indoors and rifle in hand, that's what I did. So what does that, how does that equal marketing and sales? It really doesn't. So I lived a pretty extreme life there for 20 years, totally different than what I do today. I'm a totally different person. So how did I get involved in insurance? What is now one of my downline agents, actually, I'll keep his name silent because he's one of those people that doesn't want to know. He's extremely successful. The dude makes a ton of money. He's an Aflac agent who also sells Medicare and life insurance. But I'll give you an idea of the kind of volume he does. It's nothing for him to sell $100,000 a week in life insurance premium. A week. I did say by himself, a week by himself. I've seen it happen because I used the BS meter too, went and saw him. He does it. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. A week. And he'll do it for like 2-3 months a year. The dude's a machine, right? An absolute machine. He can do things that nobody can do. I mean, I'm talking the upper 1% of the 1%, pointy tip of the pointy tip of producers and I'll get into what he maybe did later on in Medicare, but just crazy numbers. He was an Aflac guy, and he was one of the top Aflac agents in 3 states, number 1 in 3 states for like 2 years consecutively. I mean, no one, if you're a number 1 in Aflac, totally different business model than what, of course, we do, but that's a tough model with a high dropout rate. And here, this guy was number 1 for several years in a row, every single month in multiple states. You're lucky if you're number 1 in 1 state ever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This guy did it in multiple states at one time for years in a row. I mean, he's successful and
he's buddy, he's killing it.
Well, and it's not going to be and here's the thing, I'm going to give you the pill. I'm going to give you the magic pill right now because it's the same thing with what you're doing and what I'm doing. Hey dude, how are you doing it? And it's hard work. That's all he's just working harder than everybody else. That's all he's doing. And, he's certainly good at selling and all the things, but it's the hustle. It's the day-to-day hustle. He's more efficient than everybody else, truly. And he just continues working. He doesn't care about no's and all that. So,
yeah,
he's making money in insurance. And I'm like, well, maybe I kind of want to make some money now, like I did this Marine thing. And I'm like, he sure makes it look easy. He's like, oh, you'll be great at it, blah, blah, blah. And, well, I looked at the Aflac model, and for me, I wanted to go direct to the consumer. In Aflac, you got to kind of walk in, knock on a door, and get an employer, and then maybe get permission to talk to the employees, and then maybe sell. I just wanted to go right to the person. So for me, it wasn't for me. Well, at that point, I had gotten a quote for my property and casualty at my home, for my auto in my home, and I was still kind of thinking about insurance. Well, I saved like $3,000 a year. And so it hit me, man, who wouldn't want to save $3,000 a year? Like you hear the commercials or whatever. Boy, I could sell this is easy. How many people? I just got to find people who want to save money on their auto and home insurance. So that's easy. I mean, right? I mean, I didn't know anything. That's what in my brain.
Right.
That's what I thought. Yeah, right. I mean, you say right, I said right. It's a lot harder. Trust me, a lot harder than right.
It is.
just like getting a license. Whoa, who doesn't want to get help or Medicare, right? So that's what I thought I was going to be like. So I get licensed for PNC, and he's like, "No, don't do PNC, dude. It's hard." I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I wasn't listening. He's like, "Life and health. No, I'll do PNC." So I went into PNC, and it was hard. It was very hard. And I wish I could tell you I came out of the Marine Corps and I just killed it and all that. Didn't happen. I struggled for years,
Yeah.
years. And I can definitely, that's how I got involved. It was his recommendation to get involved in insurance. I didn't know what a sales funnel was. I struggled. The way my brain works, I'm a, some things might take me a little longer than it might take other people. He had to, he drew out the funnel, and I didn't even comprehend the idea of what a funnel and filtering, and didn't get it. I had to like draw it out myself because my brain I was just operated differently. I was raised differently professionally, and it just didn't make sense to me. So just some simple things, and that's what I mean by veterans transitioning and the things you're going to go through as a veteran. I went through all those, and long story short, I just wasn't getting it. So I did okay, but I wasn't making enough money for sure by any stretch. Selling PNC insurance. Kind of fast forward a little bit, a friend of mine's like, "Hey, do you sell life insurance?" And I didn't have a life license. Yeah, yes, I do. What do you need? Hey, can you give me a life quote? Yeah, can you give me about 2 weeks? So I went and got my life license, and then that took me a couple of weeks, got the life license, and then I just did life only. We have a life only here where I live, so I did that, and all was good. And then I did annuity about a year later, so I did that, and
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, "Hey, do you do health insurance?" Yes, I do. Can you give me about 2 weeks?
Let me get back to you.
True story. That's how I got all the licenses. And it's funny, now I don't do any PNC. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, right.
And I don't have it.
And with everything that's going on right now, that's looking better and better and better.
Thank God the failure happened. Thank God the things. It's funny how things work. What you wish for doesn't come true sometimes, and maybe some people are watching and helping you out and directing you in the right way. So I'm glad I failed at it. But the truth, 100%, like full disclosure, the reasons that I failed at PNC would be the same reasons why people would fail at life and health. So they're the opposite of why I'm succeeding now. So the lessons there, not today, you have different reasons why you're failing, but I'm saying back then, today there's commissions and all these things, and what the companies are doing with PNC, it's a very, very tough business to get into. Do not recommend it. For those who are in it, stay in it, do what you're doing. But if you're looking at insurance as an option for you, then life and health is the way to go. PNC,
Agreed.
not the way to go. I still carry PNC insurance. I don't know why I do. It keeps my E&O way up there, but whatever. I still have it. I don't have any policies though. I have 0 on the books for PNC.
This video is brought to you by the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Guys, have you ever wanted to get around other professionals and the best of the best in the Medicare space if you're a Medicare agent? There's something to be said about networking and learning what other people are doing around the country, and they might just have some ideas that you may never have thought of before. It's also something to be said about learning from the best of the best. The most successful people in the insurance space collaborate, talk with others, and they have a mentality that we all are in this together and we share ideas and grow together. The 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the premier event for Medicare agents. It is highly affordable. It has a great reputation of being some of the best content you're going to find at any event. There's so many events out there that are nothing but pitch fests, or half of the speakers are employees for the agency that host the event, and there's not really any real agency builders, or very few that actually take the stage and speak. At the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit, you get nothing but the best of the best talent from all over the industry. It's not based on hierarchy. It's not based on anything like that. We all are coming together as Medicare agents to grow and learn and get better. You can get information on who the speakers are for this year's event and ticket prices down in the link of this description. We would love to see you at the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Got it. Yeah. So it's very interesting, right? So you start with PNC, that's the gateway. You transition into life, then transition from life to annuities, transition from annuities into health insurance, Medicare, everything that goes in with that. When does your agency really start to boom? Is it right away, or is there a little bit of a growth period?
So let's say roughly around 2018. So here's what happened, and I'm going to describe what I think is probably common, maybe for a lot of agents. I really don't know, but this is what happened for me. So I got a PNC lead, and I think this happens in life and in health and health. And it was an exclusive lead for $8. That's why
Exclusive lead.
You're laughing already. You already know where I'm going with this story.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're
An
going.
exclusive lead for PNC for auto insurance for $8. And I was nervous. It was my first lead. And by the way, I have never failed at anything in my life. I was meritorious promoted in the military, top whatever. I mean, I did some crazy things and, successful at pretty much everything up until this point. So I was not going to fail. And I get a lead, and they tell you when you get these leads from these lead vendors that everybody buys them from, So what I'm getting at here is not all lead vendors are equal. That's where I'm going to end up here at. But
100%.
I bought a lead for $8, which at the time seemed to be the going rate, and it was exclusive. You're laughing because you know where I'm going with this. So I get it, and I'm really nervous from thinking, I got a few minutes, but I'm just nervous because it's the first time. I got to actually talk to somebody and sell them. I just kind of catch my breath. I wait a good 5 minutes. I pick up my cell phone because that's what I had. And I call. And I'm like, hello, how you doing? This is Sean Schickel. I'm going to give you your auto quote. And this guy's like, you MF dude. And he starts yelling and screaming top of his lungs. And I had no script, no objection for go F yourself. And I was like, I was so in shock. And this dude hung up on me. He yelled at me for a good 15, 20 seconds, called me every name you could come up with in that period of time, swore at me and hung up. And I'm like, what just happened? So, yeah. So I have like 50 more leads that I bought. And I'm like, I get mad now. So the Marines coming out of me. So I just call this guy back. I don't care what he says. I want to, what's going on here? And he starts yelling at me again, hangs up on me. So this time I call him right back again. Now I'm getting more leads, right? More exclusive leads. I call him back and say, hey, listen, sir, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Don't hang up on me. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. I will not promise you I won't ask for money or anything. And this is 2015, like literally, right. I wasn't 2 weeks out of the military. And I told him I bought this lead. It said you just opted in. You wanted a quote, the whole bit, and it was $8. It's like, no, I opted in 6-8 months ago, and I get at least 100 phone calls a day, and blah blah blah. And he was still yelling at me. I go, listen, let's not yell at each other. He's like, so he calmed down and he told me the whole story. He's like, no, I filled out a form like 6-8 months ago. I keep getting all these phone calls, blah 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 blah. And I was just shocked. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to send you the ad that I had, and I sent it to him. And he's like, oh, you got ripped off too. And I said, yeah, dude, listen, dude, I'm never going to call you. I appreciate your honesty or whatever. So I thought maybe it was a fluke. Sure enough, every single lead was exact same of my exclusive leads. And
real time exclusive leads at that. Real time.
Yeah, real time. I mean, literally, they would just come in and I think it was text or whatever it was at the time. I don't remember. I think it was maybe email. And you're supposed to just call quickly. Is
the vendor still in business? Sorry,
I don't even know. I have no idea. I'm sure they were just age leads, and they were. Who knows? Now that I know more about leads and how the system works, in totally different compliance, they don't have a lot of those things like we have, but in Medicare, that's what it was. And so I called all these people, and man, it was like, what a rough day. And here I was thinking I was going to make all this money, get all these sales. I mean, everybody's going to want to save their $3,000. That's why I was entering. And I got all these leads, and not only did I make money, but I lost money because I bought all these leads.
Yeah.
And so how do I go explain it to my wife who has, we have 3 kids and a mortgage payment? Like, not easy. And what am I going to do? Go buy more leads? So I think a lot of agents go through this problem today. How do you do it? And I struggled, and I wish I could tell you that it got better. It got a little better. So I started talking to other people and started learning how to generate leads on my own. Started locally, door to door, knocking on stuff, literally kind of like Aflac. I kind of started knocking on doors, and I talked to some other people who were in the PNC business and how they did it. And they literally were just talking to people and going to events and the things that you would do as a local Medicare agent. And I was getting sales. We don't talk about this in Medicare, but we call it centers of influence, which they do in the PNC world. Is how you could really develop a book in the PNC world. You get centers of influence and basically referral sources. In Medicare, we call them doctors and dentists and wherever else these leads are going to come from. and I started getting referrals. In PNC, it's typically your mortgage lenders, and they're sending you people that need homes, home loan. They're getting a new home loan, so they're going to get a home policy. And so I started making deals on the side, no money, just trying to work them over and become friends and just get leads. And so I started doing that. But that's not a great consistent source. You have to have a whole bunch of people sending you these leads, and it takes a long time to get that going. Once you get it going, it's great because it's free leads, and you can take them out to dinner or something every now and again. But you can do that in Medicare as well, but it takes a while. And I wasn't prepared for it to take a while. I wanted it now, and I just wasn't prepared for it. I thought it was going to happen. I thought I could make the money right away. Keep in mind, I have lots of job offers working for the government and working as a contractor here in the DC area where I live. There's a lot of money in that. And I can do a lot of things to this day. I can do that. Lots of six-figure big-time offers. And I just, would turn them down to what? Spend a couple $100 on crappy leads, and knock on doors. I mean, that's a tough life.
Absolutely.
So I did that. To get to your question, I did that for 3 years, but right away, online, I heard from somebody who was successful in the health and life side. Before, again, I wasn't doing that. It said if you're not generating your own leads and you have your own lead source in some way, shape, or form, your days in your own business are numbered. Because a lead source, you can be buying leads from somewhere, but that lead source can just go away. It can dry up. And now if you're dependent on it, and it happens all the time with especially life insurance agents and final expense, you get a hot lead source and it goes away. It happens in Medicare. You better learn if you really want to make it. And I'm not advocating people don't buy leads from vendors. I'm not saying that at all. Buy leads, but learn how to generate leads too. And that, as you go in your development as a business owner, well, I had one ace in the hole. And that is I had money coming in to feed my family, from the military and all that. So, I could make it enough to pay my bills, and that's about it. Maybe have a penny left over, but I could at least pay my bills.
Yeah. If
I didn't have that, I would have been out of this business years ago. And I think if I had to guess why so many fail, and, the numbers like 90 some odd percent fail in health and life and all that, it's probably that. It's probably a training issue, and it's probably how to get sales and volume enough to feed your family and to get over that hump especially Medicare. It probably takes a good 3 years, I would say.
Yeah.
So for me, I had that source of income, so I was able to get over it and get through it. If I didn't have that, there's no way I would have moved on.
You had that cushion kind of starting out. It's crazy to me, because people ask me all the time about when I started, right? So I started 10, 11 years ago now. It's a very different industry and a different world than when I started, and what I did starting out would not work today if I was starting over. You know what I mean? Like if I did step by step the same thing as a new agent that I did starting out, I would not last a year in this business if I was a brand new agent, and I think about that, and I think it's such a smarter industry than it was. I mean, our industry has always been I think you probably, can speak to this better than me, but our industry has always been years behind other industries in tech,
Totally.
And just, how we do things. But it's such a smarter industry. Like I remember when I started selling Medicare Advantage 10, 11 years ago, there was no Medicare Advantage compliant e-apps. Didn't exist. So it was paper apps.
Yeah.
And
so much better now.
It's such I mean there's so many great tools, but I do think it's a totally different game today. I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh no, I mean the technology is, especially the things that Integrity is building, and all the things that they're doing. I mean, even on the life side, it's night and day. Every day gets better. I mean, and leads, honestly, leads are better, bluntly. Sure, we have more compliance, and everybody can bitch about that, but at the end of the day, I think it makes for a better experience for everybody. And we'll get through all this, but with the compliance, but I think it's fine personally, mostly. Certainly some crazy ideas out there, but yeah, the technology's there. I think the leads are there, the opportunities are there, unlike there's ever been. Um, so yeah, I think it's great today. So for
Yeah.
me, I did 2015. By the end of 2017, fast forward, I was developing lots of leads. And I was still kind of dabbling with Medicare, but I was selling a lot of leads. Bluntly, I was kind of like a lead vendor because I was just generating leads, and it was more like a game for me to see if
Yeah.
I could generate good quality leads for other people that were selling Medicare. And there's some pretty well-known agents out there that I won't mention that were buying leads, and some of them were killing it in Medicare, and I wasn't selling anything. I was at all at that point in terms of Medicare, a couple maybe here and there. I was focusing on life at that point, mortgage protection and final expense, and doing well there. But I was generating lots of leads at that point. And I embraced like Facebook and Google very early on. So, I've had a really good experience with that. And today we spend a lot of money in those
Yeah.
areas. So by the time 2018 rolled around, I was generating leads for some fairly well-known IMOs. And I think at one point, I was doing I think my highest was like 10,000 leads a week, in the digital. Oh yeah.
That's a
In the
ton.
digital space. And, um, you know, um, but in the back of my mind, I always thought personally, and this is what really, when you ask the question, like, how did it really take off? It was just money.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, it was a decision on my part to like, do I want to be a lead vendor? And I don't really like being a lead vendor. Do I want to be a lead vendor, who sells a little bit on the side, or do I want to take control of my own destiny and take my leads, my system, do things my way, and create my own business? And so that's when I decided to go in that direction. Because if you're selling leads to somebody, kind of like the other way around, you're always depending on finding a new customer. And this
Yep.
business is full of people who don't know what they're doing, who come in and out, have a little bit of money, and they buy, and then they say the leads stink and everything else. I mean, I should get a shirt that says your leads suck or whatever. Um,
Yes.
because here's the thing about that. It's the same leads. Nothing's really changed. I mean, there's some compliance things that have changed, but I can tell you nothing has changed.
Yep.
And millions of dollars later, the leads don't suck. So yeah, like you did. I heard you earlier doing a T65 call campaign. I guarantee
Yeah.
you, people who are new, they think those leads suck. Like
Right.
they don't. They don't. It's
Right.
the person behind the lead. So
I'm so glad you said that, right? Because, obviously we merged with a lead company in January, as
yeah,
I think a lot of people know now, kind of,
yeah,
you know,
great company.
infamously now,
And
but
congrats. I think it's awesome. I think you and Glenn are doing great things. And I mean, I'm
thank
really
you.
excited to see the things you guys are doing. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it was so funny though you bring that up because I mean, I was on the phone with him today, and we were talking about because in a few months now, really, we're ending our second month as a joint company. You know, I'm talking to him. I'm hearing from so many people how bad these leads are, and bro, talk to me in 10 years when you've been hearing it for 10 years, and we were just laughing about it and kind of chuckling a little bit because
That's so
you know
funny.
because I just I wanted to prove a point. I told him I was like, listen, I'm like, we're gonna do something that we can present to people anytime they say the leads aren't good. I'm like, generate me 50 to 100. I'll take half a day. I'll dial them through myself. I'll record myself and I'll show me just crushing with these leads.
Yeah.
So that's what we did we did that last Friday, recorded it. It ended up being like an hour and a half video and we put it out, and so Glenn actually live streamed in the group today, reacting to the video for the first time, like live. He was doing those live reaction videos. And like, it's so true, because when people say the leads suck, it's like, okay, what are you saying when you're calling them? Do you sound like a jive ass? Like, what are you saying? Like, you're like, did you call them all? No, I didn't even call them all. Like, you got 20 leads and you called 5 and gave up. Like, there's so
That's the
many.
problem.
There's so much with that.
Well, and especially on the Medicare side, it's not a very salesish thing. So you don't get hardcore salespeople like
Yeah.
you would maybe on, say, final expense. But even there, you have the same thing. These leads suck, blah, blah, blah. What the real end state is people that are in what they don't believe which is reality. You are a professional salesperson. And again, I had to
Yes.
learn this. And I can describe it well because I went through it, and you got to get over this if you're going into this field. But bottom line, you better accept your role, even though we're educators, and this is very much an educational sale, and you're not really a pushy person and all that kind of stuff, because sometimes the word salespeople has kind of that to it. Medicare, you're not really selling, you're kind of educating and telling maybe to some degree, but it doesn't matter. It's still a numbers game.
Yep.
I'm guessing, the problem is you get somebody 10 leads, let's say 50 leads, they want to have 75 sales.
Right.
And they want to go, my name is Sean, how you doing? I want to offer Medicare. And then they want to go, yeah, I want to buy it right now. That's
Yep.
that's all they want, with no,
With no pushback, with no
the
resistance.
truth is you're going to buy 50 leads and probably get 4 to 6 sales.
Yeah.
But they don't want to have the 45 no's. And when I got involved, I didn't either. And I used to struggle, man. I struggle with it because I wasn't a salesperson. And
Yeah.
I remember I had anxiety, deep anxiety. Like, I never tell people, so we're going to put it out there. I mean, tremendous anxiety. Today I laugh about it. It's so stupid, but because I wasn't used to failure, man. Anything, I just get it done. And I would get 100 leads or whatever, and I would sell, 10 of them, right? It's pretty common. I would say 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially digital
very
leads,
common.
8 to 12%. And I remember I would get these leads and I would get a sale, and this would be common for me in a day. I would make a sale and I'd make $1,000. Okay. But I'd have like 9 no's and maybe even an FU in there, right? Somewhere and mix into that. And I would
Always got to get one of those.
I would lay in bed at night, my wife's sleeping, I'm staring at the ceiling, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, looking at, the stupid white wall, thinking I am a failure. I only focused for a good year and a half on the no. I never hit me until one night, dude, you just made $1,000. Like, I know that's so dumb, but it was nothing for me to come out with $5,000 for a week or $7,000. I mean, this is when I was selling life insurance mostly over the phone. Before everybody else was, I was selling mortgage protection over the phone before it became a thing. And I was doing $5,000 to $10,000, sometimes $12,000, $15,000 a week. But I mean, very little, almost never was I selling less than $5,000 a week is a very good income, in the United States. And I was sitting at the ceiling, just looking at the ceiling. I remember like it was yesterday, and I just had so much anxiety that would take control of my life. And I wasn't focusing on the 1 or 2 yeses I would get. I was focused on the 10 to 15 to 20 no's I was getting, or whatever it was. And I just couldn't get over it. And one night, I don't know, it just hit me, and I made $1,000 today. Like, wow,
Yes.
dude, you made $1,000. And I just started thinking, well, if you do that every day, you're in the top 1% of income in the United States, or 5% of income. That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then that's when everything changed for me. When you asked that earlier, what really changed? That's when it changed for me. I finally, it took me a couple of years, even though I'm generating all these leads and all this, it finally hit me as a salesperson that I have to live within these numbers, and I have to get comfortable in these numbers. And and that's what I will tell people, the sooner you can get comfortable living in the numbers of no's, if that's what it is, the better you're going to be. And, if you don't come from a sales background and all those things, if you're doing any kind of sales today, you're going to get no's. It's going to happen. And it's not you personally. It's just process. People are ready to buy when they buy, and so on and all that. I want to get all that stuff. But, that's what I had to get over. And I don't know what other people have to get over. But it's not the leads. Here's the other side of this. And let me plug you guys for a minute, because I know the numbers, right? Let's say those T6, because you did T65 today, right? So let's say somebody bought 50 leads. What's it cost them? Like $20, $30 a lead?
They're right now they're going for 30 a lead for T65.
So if we did, 50, so 100 leads, here we go, 100 leads times $30 is what? $3,000?
$3,000, 3,000.
Okay, so no, a lot of people don't have $3,000, but let's just say I bought them for $3,000. Here's how I look at it. I know out of 100 leads, I'm going to sell at least 10, probably 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that in a T65, I'm going to cross-sell almost all of them. And I know my commissions, I hope this is going to agents, I'm going to be bringing in about $1,000 to $1,200 per person, no matter what. I know how the commissions work because I know my numbers. So I'm going to bring in somewhere between 8 to 12 grand off that $3,000 ad spend. Do that every week.
Yeah,
You got a pretty darn good life. I just know the
absolutely.
numbers today. The problem is when I was a few years back when I didn't get it, I wouldn't have really. I probably would have made the money, but I wouldn't have enjoyed it because the other 90 people would have told me no. So,
Right.
but that's the truth. And people they can get your leads, they can get Glenn's leads, lead hero leads, and they'll make it just fine, no matter what the numbers are for them. They may not be able to afford 100 or whatever, but they can get 10. They can sell a policy or two out of it and work their way up over time and build a massive business, no matter if it's life, health, or whatever it is they're selling. I don't care if you're
Yeah.
selling cell phones, you're going to get no's. If you're selling, this water bottle, you're going to get no's.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
the
I
reality.
I think that was such great practical advice, and it's so true. It is so true, and I think ultimately there is a lot of just people that just don't know how to sell. They don't know how to, I mean, and I think you hit it right on the head from the standpoint of like, there's a lot of people, especially in the Medicare industry, that think I'm not a salesperson, but like you giving a presentation and explaining something the right way, in a proper way, in a simple way, is selling. It's part of the sales process,
Right,
and people just have such a hard time letting go of this preconceived notion that they're not a salesperson. They like can't look themselves in
right.
the mirror. It's like you're a salesperson. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think
the
you hit
way
it
we
right on the
treat our
head.
agents is we kind of like, because some people don't like that word sales, whatever. Bottom line, your job is to present the information, all the information, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But you're at the end, you tell the client their job is to give you a clear yes or clear no. A lot of no's, aren't there? And the agent's got to know that, and it does stink if you only get, especially a part-time agent. If you only have a 1 or 2 hours a night or here and there, and you get a no or 2 or 3 no's in a row. I mean, it is hard, especially if you're trying to, put a little money in your pocket. It's tough. The other side of that is yeses are coming. I've had a few when I sold life insurance, man. Sometimes, Monday through Thursday, not making anything, and man, it is hard to continue knocking on those doors. And all of a sudden, I do $5,000-6,000 on a Friday. I don't know. It just happens. Um,
Yep.
or sometimes you're doing 4 or 5 thousand a day, and it's like, holy cow! But the next week you're doing a zero. That's
Yep.
happened. And I don't care what you're selling. The dude selling cell phones in the mall has the same problem,
Hmm.
right? It is that's sales. And if you're right. The problem with I think a lot of Medicare agents is they don't get it, you know, and you don't have to call yourself a salesperson. I don't care, but you're still involved in a process of personally buying or not buying, and you're the person that's getting the yes or the no. You don't have to be a sales machine like you're selling a used car, but I get that. I'm not. I don't think you are either. Neither of us are
Yeah.
advocating that,
Yeah.
but you're going to get no's, and don't let that stop you. Because success is right around. I mean, if I did it, I didn't have anybody help me. Nobody taught me a squat. Trust me, it's just effort. I mean, man, I've taken courses. I didn't know what a funnel was. It took me a week to figure out what a sales funnel was. I was turning it sideways. I was coloring. I
Yeah.
finally said it to my buddy. I'm like, "Oh, you're trying to tell me that it filtered."
Yeah.
you know, yeah. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So,
Yeah. And
you just got to
I
do it.
yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great advice. And I feel the same way about me. Like I was never anything special coming in. I had to really work to get better. I wasn't a good salesperson at the beginning. I got better. I wasn't good at marketing at the beginning. I got better. And I think that's just business. That's progression in business. And some people just aren't business people. Some
Yeah.
people aren't cut out to be business people and develop skills and grow and that kind of thing. And it's
One of the
hard.
things,
It's
one of the
hard.
things I love about Medicare, maybe changing gears a little bit,
Yeah.
is you don't have to be a hardcore salesperson. In fact, you probably won't
Agreed.
succeed because of the compliance. You can be a person who generally has it in here in your heart to help somebody. You don't
Yes.
have to be a pitch, slam bam kind of that you won't make it anyway because of compliance. Like you can really truly help people. Just know you're still going to get no, and as long as you're okay with that and you can understand the numbers behind the game, you can be very successful helping people. And man, that's powerful stuff. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about Medicare. So if you want to get into something where you can make some money, again, it's a slow growth thing, where you can make some money helping people, but not be like in a hardcore sales just thing, like say final expense, which is a lot more hardcore sales. That's real selling, by the way. You haven't sold final expense.
Yes.
Medicare is not like that, might take you a few years. It takes a good 3 years to build a good business, maybe more for depending on how much you're putting in, but you can do pretty well over 3 to 5 years of just constantly plugging away and taking care of your customers and not being a hardcore salesperson. That's what I like about Medicare. You don't have to have this great sales talent. You just have to be a good teacher.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Sean, I want to be respectful of your time. I could talk to you another 2 hours. Like there's so many things that like I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this because there's a lot of things that I wanted to go deeper in that we were discussing, but I don't want to keep you on here all day.
Oh, good.
Where can people find you? Like maybe they want to join your group. Talk about your business.
Yeah. So I have a group, Medicare Sales and Marketing. They can go there. We have a YouTube page, Medicare Sales and Marketing. You can find me on Facebook. We're out there. Just send a message or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't send a message during the day. I won't answer it.
Right.
Come work and try to make money. But no, they can, if somebody has a question, they can answer. They can ask. Most of the time I'll answer. Just sometimes it may not be that day or whatever, but I'll get to it. Especially if they're respectful about how they ask.
Yes.
But yeah, they can join the groups and ask questions and go from there. And of course, joining your group is another great group and all that. So,
well, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really glad that, first off, you were willing to do this. I know you don't do a ton of these, so I do appreciate you.
To be the first.
Yes. I'm flattered. I really am, because I think
I'll do it for you. So
I think a lot of you and just the business that you're building and just all of the things you've taught yourself and all the things all the knowledge base you have. Like every time I do get a chance to talk to you, I learn something. I walk away with something for sure. So I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and sharing your knowledge. And this was a great conversation. I loved it. We'll have to do more again soon.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. And look forward to talking with you in the future, and let's roll.
Awesome. Guys, if you're watching this, thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you like this type of content, if you like this type of video, the only way I'm going to know about it is if you like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, give us a 5-star review if you're listening on audio platforms, and we'll be back with another episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast soon. Thanks, everybody.